Hello, and welcome to another episode of Read With Me. I'm yours truly, Isabel, and I'm here to read with you. We are continuing to read A View from the Top by the one and only Zig Ziglar. And in this particular, these two chapters, we're going to be going over chapter 7, and we're also going to be going over chapter 8. Now, chapter 7 is called Imagination and Motivation. And then chapter 8, it's called Your Mission in Life. These two chapters were not done to be lighthearted. I mean, I feel it's going to be a very deep chapter, both of them. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay. Chapter 7, Imagination and Motivation. You're at the top when you understand that others can give you pleasure, but genuine happiness comes when you do things for others. It's always been amazing to me to discover that a lot of people think that just because they do not have a corporate job, they can't make any difference in people's lives. They only talk about the boring things that they have to do. And the following are a couple stories and examples that I believe tie together what you've been learning. For years, I've been saying it's what you do off the job that's going to determine how far you can go on the job. The way you behave during those other 16 hours is very important. Are you taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually? Are you making certain that your family is in the game plan with you? Are you learning some things while you're off the job? While you are off the job, that's when you learn the things that will make you more effective on the job. If you really don't like the job that you have, what about the man in charge of that job? What would keep you from getting the education, experience, and guidance that would enable you to move up the ladder? That's a factor you absolutely must consider. As an example, I get so irritated with some of the highly paid athletes and television movie stars when they belittle what they call hamburger flippers, who work at some of the stands where they play ball or whatever. And on the other hand, I'm excited about those hamburger flippers and all the employees of the fast food industry. And first of all, they learn dependability. They have to show up on time. They learn how to treat their customers with courtesy and respect. They learn how to operate some of the high-tech machinery, and they learn how to develop pleasing personality. They learn what it is to have their own money, and they treat their own money quite different than from their parents hand them money. But the rest of that story is that a lot of them qualify to win a new car, win college scholarships, and many of them move up the ladder. I know personally young men and women who are 22, 23 years of age and drive luxury automobiles by flipping those burgers. They are now managers earning 50 to even 80,000 a year. It doesn't matter where you start. That's not important. It's where you go that's significant. And I don't care that the job is or what the job is. When you take that approach of doing something off the job to improve yourself, then you will either move up in that one or you will get a better offer somewhere else. I was raised during the Depression, and in those days, inventories were small because dollars were so tight. The grocery stores literally loaned each other food, such as canned food items. And I was a runner. When the store would run short because they hadn't bought enough, because the owner didn't have enough money, I would run to other stores and borrow what we needed. At another grocery store, a young man named Charlie worked there as a runner as well. He would run into our store many times and tell the owner what he needed. While Charlie would go get the items, the owner would write out the receipt, and Charlie would scribble his name on it and take off running. One day, I asked the boss why Charlie ran so much, and he said he's working on getting a raise and he's going to get it. And I said, really? How do you know that he's going to get a raise? And he said, well, my boss. He said, I know he's going to get a raise because if the man he's working for doesn't give it to him, I'm going to hire him and give it to him. And many years later, when I was speaking at Mississippi State University, I told that story. And when the seminar ended, a man came up to me and it was Charlie. And because he maintained that habit of working hard and giving his absolute best every day, he was able to retire at the age of 55 as a very wealthy man. And after retirement, he contributed all of his time to charitable causes and helping other people achieve success. My friend, I don't care where you start, you can still achieve significance and you can still enjoy the view from the top. Motivation. I love the stories of the two skiers. They were almost even during the competition. One was just an eyelash again ahead of the other. Then one skier fell. So the other one thought she'd be the first one to cross that finish line, but then she fell too. The skier who fell first came down the hill and won. Someone said to the loser, that's too bad you didn't win. She was faster, she said. No, that's not it. She wasn't faster. She just got up faster. That's what makes the difference. To get knocked down is part of life. How long you stay down is determined by how committed you are and how energized you are. That's so true. That's why it's so important to keep learning new information all the time. A dream is more certain and more easily realized if life is in balance, if we worry about what's going on at home, and then when we get home, if we're worried about what's going on in the office, we're not doing a job in either place. Our life is not in balance. The bottom line is we have a lot of different difficulties, and troubles will be solved more quickly if life is balanced. My wife and I had a balanced relationship. What makes a relationship balanced? Well, first of all, you put the other person first. And then second, do something for your wife or your husband every day that they can do for themselves. It's two simple little things. It's nearly 55 years and we've been married. In the 2 years, 2 months, and 11 days we courted, she was not opened to her car door or a dozen times. Every time that I walk around the car and I open the door, I'm reminded that here is the most important person on the face of this earth to me. Here's the one that I love above all those little things that pop up to grab my attention. And years ago, I stopped carrying my money in my wallet. I just fold it over and put it in my pocket. And at night, I'd put it on the bathroom counter. She started counting my money. And if she didn't think I had enough to cover unexpected expenses on my next trip out of town, she would always go get me some more. Now, that's not a big deal, but what it says is everything. It says, honey, I love you very much and you're extremely important to me. And I will feel better knowing that if there isn't an emergency, you need some cash and you will not be embarrassed, delayed, or even perhaps even be endangered. So putting the other person first makes a huge difference. My wife is known affectionately as the happy hugger. If it's moving, she will stop and hug it. If it's not moving, she will dust it off and sell it. We average hugging somewhere between 10 and up to 30 times a day to simply say, I'm so glad that you're mine and I love you very much. You're so special. And I can't begin to tell you what it meant to me to have her beside me during those first 27 years of our marriage. We had our telephone disconnected, lights turned off, had to turn a car back in because I couldn't pay for it. When our first baby was born, we couldn't even get her out of the hospital. The bill was $64. I had to go out and make 2 sales so we could bring our baby home. During one 5-year stretch, I was in 17 different deals, and that's all they were. None panned out. During all those years, not one time did my wife ever say, honey, it would be nice if we had more money. It would be wonderful if we had a little bit more stability in our financial situation. And she never said anything like that. She always said, you can do it. Tomorrow's going to be better. I love you and I believe in you. And I can't begin to tell you what it meant to me to have a cheerleader cheering me on every day of my life and praying for me every night. You would not be reading this book if it had not been for the fact that we were on the same page. She bought the dream of me doing what I'm doing now. I had my dream in 1952, but it was 1972 before my speaking career exploded. That's a long time, and I needed lots of help along the way. We need to understand why balance is so crucial. Consider this fact. If all the gold in the world were melted down into a solid cube, it would be about the size of an 8-room house. But all those billions of dollars could not buy a true friend, character, peace of mind, a clear conscience, or a sense of eternity grounded in the basics. How you develop the imagination that makes all of these things happen? Well, number one, you need to ground yourself in the fundamentals of your chosen profession. So for example, Asian math students doing definitely better than American math students because when they get to advanced math, then they are better because they're so grounded in the fundamentals. So for example, you can wake up the Asian math student at 3 o'clock in the morning and ask, what is 17 times 23? And bang, the student spits out the answer to you. They're so grounded in the fundamentals that when they get in the abstract, it's easy. Michael Jordan is recognized as one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived. He makes shots that nobody else has ever made. Why can he do that? Well, to begin with, he has great athleticism. There's no denying that. It's an absolute fact that he is a remarkable athlete. But also we know, but also we need to understand that he was one of the hardest workers at practice. He dribbles magnificently well. He passes behind his back, between his legs, and finds himself in different positions, and every situation is different. He never has exactly the same score with exactly the same teammates and exactly the same opportunities at the same time of the game. He's always faced with different opportunities. This is where his athleticism and his imagination and his dream come into play. He makes those moves and there's nothing but net. Fundamentals and grounding are the principles I'm talking about. Constant learning is what makes the difference. Thomas Edison is famous for the fact that he had to experiment several thousand times to finally invent the light bulb. And shortly thereafter, Edison was approached by a reporter who asked, how does it feel to have failed 1,000 times in the process? And Edison replied, young man, I didn't fail thousands of times. I successfully completed those experiments and learned what did not work. He added new information to the old knowledge, and that's how he produced the electric light bulb. That's so important. I have a lot of medical doctor friends, and they tell me that 95% of the problems they will ever encounter as doctors, well, they learn in the first 3 years of medical school, and yet they attend for another year, and then they go into a specialization that they continue to get upgraded. But they really could solve 95% of the problems with the 3rd-year medical education. And when they continue, they want to be able to figure out how to treat the 3 in a million cases that come along. That's where the imagination, built upon all the experiments and all of the knowledges that they have, comes into play. Those are the great doctors who come up with creative solutions. A chance remark sometimes triggers your imagination, and you will end up with ideas if you really tuned in to your goal. I eat, sleep, and dream, teaching and speaking. My objective is simply to encourage and lift up other people. So everything that I see or read or hear, in most cases, I can take it in and use it as an application. So for example, the last time that I got a haircut, my barber Bob, who has been cutting my hair for over 30 years, received a phone call. He picked it up, and after 1 minute of the conversation, put the phone down and said, the guy wants to work for me, but he smokes and I'm not going to hire him. I said, I'm glad of that. I don't want to come for a haircut and leave smelling like smoke. Bob said, oh, he wouldn't smoke in the shop. But the problem with a smoker is the fact that if he wants to smoke, but there's somebody in his chair, his mind is outside smoking a cigarette, not on the customer's haircut. I want somebody who will concentrate all of their time on the people they're supposed to be serving. That's awesome. What use is the conversation to me? For years, I've been interested in learning about addictions. And what I've discovered is that people who are addicted are inclined very strongly to become self-centered. You will seldom find somebody with a serious addiction who does not have a serious relationship difficulties. The relationship we build makes us effective. And if we do not have a destructive habit that takes our attention away from our projects, imagination can also be very destructive. In the 24 years I was overweight, I lost a couple thousand pounds. I'd go up and down, losing and gaining weight for 24 years. I finally figured out what my problem was when my youngest daughter was just little 3-year-old, and I told her to call me fat boy. It didn't matter how much weight I lost. I had to completely change the picture I had in my mind about myself. My 3-year-old thought that she was pleasing her daddy, but I thought it was funny. And later I realized it was tragic. Damn right. So what did I do? I began a sensible eating and exercise program, but I had done that before. But this time I put up a picture of a trim guy in jockey shorts. When I went into the bathroom every morning and I saw that dude, I said it 1,000 times a day. That's the way I'm going to look. I'm going to look just like that guy. And I changed the picture in my mind, and that was 30 years ago. And now I'm a healthy, slender person brought about because I dreamt that I was going to be that way. My imagination went to work and I took the steps that made it happen. I lost 37 pounds by losing 1 9/10 ounces a day. And on average, every day for 10 months, the weight is still gone. Today, I eat everything I want without a problem. Now, one of the things that I've discovered along the way is that I did without sugar. I did it without sugar. The rest of it was extraordinarily easy. So I quit eating sugar, no cookies, cake, ice cream, and I'm a sweetaholic. But there are many things that I want to do, and I need to be healthy to do them. So I want to be active all of my life if that's humanly possible. I want to go out full speed ahead, wide open, doing everything that I can possibly do. Using your imagination makes a difference. Dreams do come true. My dream to be a speaker was born in 1952 after hearing a presenter. I never saw a man have so much fun and do so much good as that speaker. And that night I made the decision to be a speaker. My wife and I cornered him after that seminar and took him to dinner. Remember, it's very important to allow other people to teach us. He told me some steps that I needed to take, and from that night on, the dream was in my mind. During the following years, before I ever got a single paid engagement, I had literally thousands of speeches in my own mind. I saw myself in front of audiences. I saw people sitting there in wide-eyed astonishment that a mere mortal could utter such incredible words of wisdom. And when I told a joke, not only would they laugh, they would roll up and down the aisles. They had never seen or heard anything like that. The beautiful thing about your imagination is that you can take it anywhere you want to go. That's the reason I kept saying to make certain the input is positive, so the picture is positive, so the results will be positive. And the time came when my dream became a reality, and then my career absolutely exploded. Your imagination is so important. Your dreams are so important. So true. I love that. I met a young man when he and I were speaking for the Department of Defense in Colorado Springs a number of years ago. There were CEOs and Fortune 500 companies and the Secretary of Defense and more brass than I ever have seen in my life. John, a college student, stood up and spoke with authority and conviction. We became friends, and I've been working with him in his speaking career. He speaks all over the world, skis, is a portrait painter, drives his own car, lives in a 3-story house, scrambles his own eggs. And the reason I mention those things is because he was born without arms. John said to me one time, well, if I had the longest, strongest arms in existence, they still could only reach so high and lift so much. But every day of my life, I encounter more situations where I have to use my creative imagination than the average person encounters in a month. God has balanced it all out. And there's the interesting part. Something so small spurred something so great. His parents were dismayed when their son was born. They wondered, what on earth can he do? What will he be able to do? How can we help him? And one day they noticed something exceptional. When he was less than a year old, about 8 to 10 months of age, he was sitting on the table and beside him was a toothpick. He reached out with his toes, picked up the toothpick, dipped it in a sugar bowl, and then put it in his mouth. His parents were ecstatic. Hope was born in that moment. They believed that if the child can do all those things at his age, he can learn how to do so many other things. A dream for him was born, and then John inherited that dream. Why is imagination so important, and how do you develop one? You keep learning and keep studying. You got to keep listening. You keep following through. And when you get a big dream, instead of saying no way, say, I can do it, and start exploring the ways that you can accomplish it. Give it your best shot. I have a book called Secrets of Closing the Sale. There is one segment in that book titled The Heart of the Sale, and it has 71 pages. I've been selling since I was 8 years of age. I sold newspapers, vegetables, and so forth on the streets of my hometown in Mississippi. And because I've been selling and training almost all my life, I had a huge backlog of information on selling when I wrote that book. Remember, the more prepared you are, the more grounded you are in what you do, and the more valuable the new information becomes. I encourage you to learn your profession. Whatever your choice is, learn every single thing you can about it. People who do not believe in dreams will say, hey, this person really knows what he or she is talking about. I do a lot of speaking and I talk about the same things a lot. I've given the same talk several hundred times around the world. And when I spoke to Hewlett Packard, I used 90% of the material that I have used hundreds and hundreds of times before. And of course, I customized it to their needs and wove that information in to make it applicable to exactly what they do. Beforehand, I spent an hour on the telephone with them getting what their objectives for me was. So for a regular public seminar presentation that I've made hundreds of times, I still spend from 3 to 5 hours preparing for that talk. Now, why do I do that? Well, number one, I think it's arrogant for a speaker to stand up and say, well, I've done this so many times, I can spit it out, no problem. I'll go over it because there's a great deal at stake. We have a responsibility in whatever we do to give it our absolute best. I leave absolutely nothing lying on the table because I know that one day I will give my last talk. I don't want to look back and think that I could have done it better. And although I'm not always at my best, I always try to give my best. The sweetest sleep on earth is when you can lie down at night after you've looked yourself in the mirror and said, today, I gave it my best shot. God has given us so much ability, experience, opportunity, and you need to capitalize on those gifts with your dream and with your imagination. With your commitment and your courage, you need to put it all together and use that information to the benefit of others. clearly, understanding that you can really have everything in life that you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. You'll have lots of friends. You can end up being happier and healthier, more prosperous, more secure, have more freedom and greater peace of mind, in the hope that the future is going to be better. If you do all these things, you'll not only love, but you'll be loved, because you're the right kind of person doing the right kind of thing. And your view from the top is going to get better all the time. Act on your ideas and your dreams, because when you do, I will definitely be able to say, welcome to the top. The view is so magnificent. And look at all the people you brought with you. And you will be able to smile and say, I've had a rich and full life. Wow. And that concludes chapter 7. That was freaking gorgeous. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. We have chapter 8 to accomplish here. And this is your mission in life, chapter 8. That was so nice. That was really, really nice. I know I highlighted a couple things in there because it felt really nice reading that. Okay, let's get into chapter 8. You're at the top when you've made friends of your adversaries and have gained the love and respect of those who know you best. The mission we have in life is enormously important. Undoubtedly, it is the most important thing that we can do in our lifetime. Over the years, billions of people have done some remarkable things without a mission statement. In fact, that phrase wasn't even known until relatively recently. It is important to really explore what is your mission in life, what you really want, and determine what is important to you. My own mission has changed over a period of years, but the new mission statement of our business has allowed things to happen in much more efficient and effective, significant way. Our mission is to be the difference maker in the personal, family, and professional lives of enough people to make a positive difference in the world. And that's a pretty significant mission statement. It's actually a little presumptuous. At the time we put this mission statement into practice, we were much smaller and had far fewer works, books, tapes, etc., out in the field. But since then, as mentioned previously, our works have been translated into 38 different languages and dialects. We've sold over 6 million books, and I've spoken to roughly 6 million people in large audiences. Plus, I have no earthly way of knowing just how many people have listened to my tapes. Other people have bought and shared. We are reaching people worldwide, and now through the internet, we're able to go into numerous other countries with our messages of hope and excitement and enthusiasm. When you have that big picture cited in a mission statement, you can start painting in the spaces that will enable you to be more comfortable, more confident, more productive, and more effective. Doing a lot more good for a lot more people. The mission should challenge you. It should take you toward a significant role in life. It should be something that you believe in fervently. And you don't have a mission. If you don't just have a mission, the mission has you. Think of a man like Dr. Billy Graham. Most everybody recognizes that name. His mission was identified early on, and he was absolutely true and committed to that mission until the day that he died at the age of 99. Although his health deteriorated over the last years, every time he got up to fulfill his mission to preach the gospel, there was a new strength and a new power in his message. Toward the end, he almost had to be helped to the platform, yet there was a power in his voice. He had a mission, and the mission had him. Here's how to identify your mission. To identify your mission, think in terms of your natural talents. What do you enjoy doing? And what do you believe frequently? What is something that you can't keep your mouth shut about? You have to talk about it, think about it, write it out. When a subject meets those qualifications, then you will begin to realize what your mission in life is. Don't be discouraged if you can't put it in writing exactly what you're feeling the first time around. When we worked on our mission statement, not only did I work on it, but several of our key staff members did too. We would brainstorm by asking questions such as, what is the mission? What does it mean? How will we be able to accomplish it? We were more interested initially in identifying the mission. Then we drew the game plan for accomplishing that mission. That's the process that we went through and we're following today. One idea propels another, one accomplishment enthuses us and convinces us to take the next step now. And you need to take that first step. You need to get that pen and paper. You need to start thinking quietly about what you want to do. What is your mission? You can think about it while you're taking a walk in the quietness of your mind and in your heart. You can explore it as you arise in the morning and when you go to bed at night. And when you do it this way, discovering your mission becomes absolutely critical to you and your passion. It grabs you. When passion grabs you as a mission, as your mission begins to unfold in your mind, you can articulate it. It becomes real in your mind. Once your mission is established and the mission statement is put together, then you need to start examining each area of your life and ask yourself, can I do this consistently in my personal life, my family life, my professional life? Will this work in the physical, the mental, and spiritual aspects of my life? What will the financial results be? Finances are important. Finances are one of the factors in many divorces. There are so many disputes over money. We need to have a game plan to answer all of these questions to eliminate any kind of destructive circumstances. When you put all of the components of your mission together, there will be a new excitement, a new commitment, and a new conviction in your life. And consequently, you can put your whole entire heart into it. That's important. And after a high jumper broke a world record, somebody asked him how he did it. He said, it was really quite simple. I threw my heart over the bar and the rest of me followed. Put your heart in it. The rest will follow. And then you will achieve significance in your life. Your mission statement is critically important. Put it together, then you can say, the view from the top is really beautiful. Your eulogy. One good way to get started on your mission statement is to answer the question, what do you want your eulogy to be? If you can put that together in your mind, you will have taken a significant step towards defining what your mission is. I would like whoever is delivering my eulogy to say, Zig would not change anything. Years ago, I heard a lady say something that made a lot of sense to me, and I borrowed it for my own. She was asked what she would change if she had to or could live her life over. And she said, I wouldn't change a thing, because if I change anything, I would not be where I'm at today. And I really like where I am. So those are my sentiments exactly. Although I've made many, 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 many mistakes, all of them were part of the plan for my life. And if I change anything, I might not be where I am. And like I say, I really do like where I am. The reason I can say that is because I truly know where I'm going when I breathe my last breath here on earth. I truly have given my very best shot. I've taken the abilities God has given me, and I've worked very hard at utilizing them, developing, improving, and improvising those abilities. I can honestly tell you that I love my family and my fellow man. I have done my very best to make a positive contribution to society by doing what is right and understanding that other people are critically important, not only to the success of any endeavor, but also to our enjoyment of life, our happiness, and our joy. I wouldn't change a thing. I believe people want to be treated with respect and dignity. They want somebody they can look up to, not somebody who will look down at them. I believe that's what a eulogy should contain. That's what I want mine to contain. I believe when you have your eulogy put together, you will be pleased with what you've written. Not only that, but the eulogy will serve as a benchmark and as a guideline for your life. It will make a difference in your life. It's serious, but this stuff will make a difference in your life, not only in the future, but in your internal future. That's what significance is about. And that's what the view from the top is about. The mission statement you put together should be so simple, direct, and brief that anybody can memorize it in a matter of minutes. And the specificity in your mission statement should be a guideline that enables you to develop the plan of action to complete or fulfill that mission. It should be so clear, so distinct, that it guides you towards the direction you need to take and the plans that you need to be putting together to make that mission statement viable. It should be something that you can get excited about and you can say to your friends and family, this is my mission statement. I want to put together a game plan to make it happen. You might even want to talk to them during the process and ask them what they think your strengths are, and maybe they can suggest some possibilities. That's awesome. Here goes, mentors. This is where mentoring comes in. This is where somebody whom you trust and respect can actually help you. In my life, I've had 26 people who had a huge impact on my life. They're all on my wall of gratitude. But at that moment, I have one mentor with whom I share everything. He always has something significant to add to me, to whenever I'm doing. He's a wise man, a knowledgeable man, and he's very interested in what I do. Find someone like that to guide you along when writing your mission statement. It might be a pastor, a rabbi, your next door neighbor, a former employee, a former school teacher, anyone that you can trust to share what's burning in your heart. And first, you need to set yourself on fire about that mission, and the world will gather to watch you burn with excitement that will take you towards the destination you have identified in the mission statement. It's a good improvement process to follow. One of the things that I make crystal clear is the fact that you can have a mission without having a mission statement. I refer to my mother, for example, a person who had a huge impact on my life. She only finished the 5th grade, but she had incredible wisdom. One simple example of the wisdom follows. I went to work in a grocery store on the Saturday before I entered the 5th grade. I worked 15 hours for the grand total of 75 cents. This was back in the Depression years, so that was not uncommon. I'd been working at that grocery store for 3 years when I got an offer from a sandwich shop where I was going to be paid $1.15 a day in the grocery store job. At the grocery store job, I went to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, got off at 11 o'clock that night. At the sandwich store, I would have gone to work at 10 o'clock in the morning and gotten off at 10 o'clock at night. I would have made 40 cents more. That might not sound like a lot, but in those days, for $1, people could buy a 24-pound sack of flour, 3 pounds of good bacon, and 14 small oranges. It was a significant amount of money, and I wanted to make that change. But my mother never even considered it. She said to me, son, the additional 40 cents would be good, but I don't know the owner. He might be a good man, but I have heard that they sell beer at the sandwich shop, and that's an environment that I don't want my boy to be in. I do know Mr. Anderson, and I know he's a good man, and I know that he will take proper care of you, and it is the environment that you need to work in. So this shows the wisdom of my mother. Mr. Anderson became more than just an employer. He was a surrogate father. He even took me to a grocery convention in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was the first time I had ever been out of our little town where I was living. On Wednesday afternoons, he would take me with him out to his farm, and I would watch him as he dealt with the foreman of the farm and the way that he dealt with other people who worked for him. I learned an awful lot about life from my mother, and also from Mr. Anderson. Our son is named John Thomas Ziglar. The John comes from John Anderson, the man whom I worked in the grocery store. And the Thomas from my wife's father's name. Now, what's this got to do with my mother's mission? Well, she had 12 children. Her commitment was to raise those children in the fear of God, in the fear of God and the love of the Lord. She wanted them to be successful in every area of their life. And I heard her say many times, I only have 12 children. Satan is not going to get any of them. Every bit of her mission was to make certain that her children were saved and going to heaven. Her mission was to give them the best chance in life to have a good life. She knew that honesty, faith, and character were the base of which she could not build. No, she didn't put it in writing, but she made her life mission, and it was very, very clear. Baseline. Your mission is important, but what role does it play in our lives? Chances are good that you have heard of the Johnson & Johnson company. And you remember that the Tylenol scare here years ago, where millions of dollars worth of particular medication was available in drugstores and grocery stores all across the country. Johnson & Johnson had nothing to do with the fact that someone was demented mind had put poison in a couple of big containers of Tylenol. But Johnson & Johnson never hesitated. They took every bottle off the shelves at a cost of many, many, many millions. And public confidence was not only restored, but it grew dramatically. Johnson & Johnson has a mission statement based on values, and it's proven that companies who have a written value statement based on character really do win. One of the marvelous beauties of having mission statements is that inevitably you will be confronted with situations where you have to make a decision that you're not comfortable making. And as a result, you can go right to the mission statement. And if the decision is contrary to the mission statement, you will know right then and there how you can handle that decision. That's the way you accomplish your objective, and you can be very comfortable with what you have done. Nice. This goes very much in alignment to like hiring and firing and building teams, having a strong set of values and being able to use those values as like ways to discern whether you're going in the right direction and all that stuff. The same is true of individuals. And I'm thinking about Gertrude Johnson Williams, who had a mission statement. You might not have heard of her very much unless you read her son John Johnson's autobiography. John Johnson's mother and John were born in a tin-roofed house in Arkansas. And they had a tremendously difficult time in life when John Johnson finished the 8th grade. In those days, African-American kids were not permitted to attend high school, and there were no high schools in Arkansas City. So what did Gertrude Johnson do for her son? She made him take the 8th grade over again. Why did she do that? Well, because her mission was for him to have the better things in life, and she did not want him to be idle, nor did she want him to become accustomed to doing menial jobs. She had a plan to take him and the family to Chicago, where they had relatives and where the opportunity would be greater. They worked long and hard. John and his mother had difficult things, everything possible to raise money to make the trip to Chicago, where they lived with relatives until they could get on their own. They were embarrassed to say they had to be on welfare for a limited period of time, but the bottom line, she had a mission for her son. Her mission had accomplished great things through her son, including he founded a number of companies and published even Ebony magazine. He was the guest of every president in the White House. He was the guest of every president in the White House since Eisenhower. He was one of the wealthiest men in America, worth $150 million when he passed away in 2005. Johnson H. Johnson is famous for making the statement, "It's not the color of your skin, it's not the place of your birth, it's the size of your hope that's going to determine what you do in your life." It's a beautiful quote. John Johnson had hope because his mother had a mission. When you have a mission, you will do great things as well. As long as you're faithful to the right mission involving doing things for other people and based on character and integrity and lots of hard work, then you'll enjoy the view from the top. The United States of America was founded because of the mission. People wanted freedom to worship. When the Pilgrims came to America, they were really excited about the mission and the privilege of having freedom to worship. That particular freedom was so important to them as the importance of building character and faith in their children. In 1776, there were 3 million Americans, and of those 3 million Americans, honorable, creative, courageous, and wise men were raised up, including George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, George Washington Carver, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson, and so many others. Now, the country is currently at 300 million Americans, and it's not as easy to find men and women of character and integrity. I challenge you to name just one person who has that commitment, the accomplishments, the intellect, and the faith that these founders of America had. Why is that? What happened along the way? According to research, in 1776, having New England Primer and other works, including the Bible, over 90% of all the education thrust at the time was from a character-based religious faith sourced. By 1926, the percentage has dropped down to 6%, and by 1951, the percentage of character and faith included in educational process was so small it could not even be measured. Does your character count? Does your faith count? Does having the right concept about life and what life is all about count? Well, yes. I rest my case on the fact that our great nation was founded on the principles written in the Constitution, that we all have the same rights and privileges. And as I've mentioned previously, I'm the 10th of 12 children. Dad died when I was 5. I was raised during the Depression. And yet, because of the society in which we operate, because of the educational opportunities, the privilege that we have, and because we are not judged by the color of our skin or the family that we come from, but judged by what we do, we are rewarded as a direct result of having a mission and character and faith. All the things that make huge differences in our lives. That's why I tell you, people that have a mission statement can build on solid foundation. That's the best way to get to the top and stay there. Why on earth would you want to go anywhere else when the view is so wonderful from the top? Stability. If you interviewed the average person on the street today, they would tell you that there's so much transition taking place in every area of life. The family is being redefined, security is being redefined, people move from one place to another more than often. The divorce rate is going up, violence is rampant, and there are school shootings, drunken brawls, and all the like. How do we survive in a world like that? How do we achieve any stability? How do we make our lives more meaningful? How can we succeed in this environment? And first of all, we need to accept the responsibility of our own performance and our own conduct. We can survive and thrive when we have the right base, but when we understand that we have to be the right kind of person and do the right kind of thing in order to have all that life has to offer, things change. We need to remember that what somebody else does should have no bearing on what you do. Just because somebody else lies and cheats and steals and steps on his or her mate, that certainly is no reason for you to do it. The evidence is completely overwhelming that the good guys and the good gals, the honest ones, the ones who end up at the end of the road with not only more of the things money will buy, but also all the things that money won't buy. What happens down the street should be of concern to you. And that's the reason I believe we need to get involved in civic and social clubs, churches, and politics. A lot of people say, oh, don't get involved in politics. That's a dirty business. Well, if everybody thinks it's a dirty job, guess who's going to get in it? Nobody but bad people. And if you want to change things for the better, help put the good men and the good women in there. Those who have values, those who have standing beliefs, those who have commitment, those who accept responsibility, those who have an interest in other people, those whose word is their bond. Those are the ones with significance. Trust is the glue that holds society together. Where there is no trust in a society, it comes apart. And you might wonder what you can do to build that trust. You can first take care of your own needs, then your family needs. Then you need to reach down and extend that helping hand to others. And I'll never forget what a coach of mine told me when I was in junior college. He said, if you have the ability that goes beyond providing for your own needs, you need to reach down and lift up other people. The first 2.5 years I was in sales, I was in overwhelming success. That doesn't mean I didn't sell anything, because I did. I had to sell my furniture and my car. But finally, after 2.5 years, I went to a meeting and man said something to me that made a huge difference in my life. He gave me a belief in myself. In those 2.5 years, I had learned how to get prospects, learned how to make a deal, learned how to conduct demonstrations, learned how to close sales, and learned everything a salesperson is supposed to know. The salesman was everything a salesperson is supposed to know. A salesman was ready, but the man was not. This man looked at me in the eye and said, Zig, if you just believed in yourself and went to work on a regular schedule, you could become the national champion. And after that, I didn't quite make it, but out of 7,000 salespeople, I did finish number 2. That year, everything I touched turned to gold. I was selling like you cannot believe. I remember vividly, though, the second phase of the story that completely changed my life. The heavy-duty waterless cookware company I worked for had a national booster week. During this week, we were to concentrate on all of our efforts strictly on selling. No collections, no training, nothing but sales, sales, sales. That week, I ended up selling 2.5 times as much as I'd ever sold in a week. My wife and daughter went to Jackson, Mississippi that week. That's where she was from. They wanted me to work real hard that week, and work hard I did. On the way to pick them up and bring them home after that great week, I stopped in Atlanta, Georgia at about 2:30 in the morning for a break from driving. I awakened a good friend and mentor of mine who put on the coffee pot. And for the next 2 hours, he listened to every word that I said. I told him about every call that I made, plus gave him every detail. When I was finally finished, I apologized for talking so long and so much, and I asked him how he was doing. He said, Zig, don't give it a thought. You have every reason to be proud of what you've done. Then he reminded me that he was the one who recruited me for the business and kept me encouraged, inspired, and trained. He was the one who talked to me when I threatened to quit. Then he said, Zig, as excited as you are about what you've done, you will never know what joy it is until you have experienced what I had just experienced. When someone you have trained and shared yourself with turns around and succeeds, that's what joy is about. My friend, that's what having a mission is all about. If your mission is to do well yourself, but more importantly, to teach others to do well and help them to do well, then you will have accomplished real significance. That means that you will be totally enjoying the view from the top. In summation, number 1, you need to write your mission statement and you need to start working on it this very minute. Number 2, you need to develop a plan of action in order to accomplish your mission. Number 3, you need to make your mission a reality by considering the people you need to talk with or work with to do some brainstorming. And number 4, you need to make the commitment to follow through so that not only will you reach and fulfill your mission statement, but as a result, you will be reaching the mission that you set forth in that statement, and you will help other people so they too can enjoy the view from the top. As part of your action plan for this mission and mission statement, you need to write it in a journal or a notebook. You need to make copies of it and post it so other people can see it and they know what your mission statement is. They need to be part of the mission in order for it to be fulfilled. When you take these steps, things will happen. But until you put them into action, they are simply just empty words, and that will take nobody anywhere. So follow through. That's the way you enjoy the view from the top, because that's where you will be. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. What a delight to have enjoyed that book. Though that was really good. Those two were really, really powerful. I'm excited to hear your mission statement. I'm excited to, really embrace our not only our business mission statement, but being able to, what's it called? To create my own personal mission statement, if that makes sense. Because like our mission, like within our company, is to create transformational programs and experiences for individuals, companies, and communities to fast track their success and impact through their purpose. Like that's our mission. And our values are, you got to make it happen, can't have excuses, have exceptional attitude. You are solution focused, results driven, you over deliver, you have a world-class mentality, and your integrity just encompasses that whole scope. So I'm really, like, now that I guess I've been in business for like a little bit longer than 5 years, like legitimately been in business for myself and my family to support them. I now understand the power of a mission statement. Before I really didn't. I like can care less about it, but now I really do see it differently. Like the mission statement, the values, they're all part of attracting the right talent, attracting the right people, attracting the correct attitude whenever you show up to places, and how you can actually start a conversation with people, and how you can separate yourself from the masses. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to continue reading chapter 9 and 10 for tomorrow, and pretty much ending this book. It's going to be tomorrow. So get ready. The View from the Top. Really, really great book from Zig Ziglar. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.